So welcome to the Alpine Church of Spiritual Living. If you will bring out your programs, I'll read the thought for the week entitled The Cycle of Life for this week, and at the end where it's in bold, you can join me there. The topic this Sunday is the cycle of life. Little did I know when I chose this topic we would be grieving the loss of our only son. And so how fitting it is to look at the cycle of life, knowing it is really a circle with no beginning and no end. And yet, to our finite mind, we view and experience the contrasts life on this earth plane brings. I'm reminded of the familiar verses from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 4. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. When we are in the throes of these cycles, it is good to be able to take a step back in order to view the bigger picture, much like taking the view of the eagle versus the view of the ant. In the Wisdom of Jesus, Cynthia Bourgeault wrote, "Over and over, Jesus lays this path before us. There is nothing to be renounced or resisted. Everything can be embraced, but the catch is to cling to nothing. You let it go. You go through life like a knife through a done cake, picking up nothing, clinging to nothing, sticking to nothing. And grounded in this fundamental chastity of your being, you can then throw yourself out, pour yourself out, being able to give it all back, even giving back life itself. That's the canoic path in a nutshell. Very, very simple. It only costs everything. Be mindful this coming week to be willing to pour yourself out, yet cling to nothing. Let and allow the master teacher to guide you through this thing called life with ease and grace. Say with me, I live in the eternal now, letting and allowing the divine energy within me to bring and release all things. I am free, I am blessed, I am a blessing, and it is so." Thank you. So here we are in the autumn of the year, and we're talking about the cycle of life, knowing and remembering that life is ever renewing itself, ever changing, ever allowing growth, renewal, and yes, things to die and fade away at the same time, an evolutionary type of process. But beneath and beyond all of these transitory experiences of life, we have that substance that is unchanging, that substance that is girding and producing all of these changes that we see with our physical eyes. That's what we are grounded in. Very similar to the analogy if you look at the tree, where the leaves and the wind are blowing and giving it this experience of change. And yet the roots in the system down in the ground, those roots are what is keeping the stability of that tree alive. Think of the analogy of the oceans. The surface is a very changeable condition with movement and frothing and a violent nature at times. But yet, if we go down deep enough, we feel that stillness, that solidarity of what is at the bottom of that. And so I believe that our souls yearn for that stillness, for that substance within this life that we are living that is always changing. And I'm reminded of the prayer that I know that we are all familiar with. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Courage to change those things I can. and the wisdom to know the difference. How do we know the difference? We know the difference when we go within and settle ourselves on the substance that we are, focusing on the qualities that this eternal being that we are represent themselves to be, of love, of wholeness, of unity. That is our life. That is the truth of what we are, that everything is. I'm comforted as I wake in the middle of the night sometimes recently that I have this automatic knowing that comes up in my head that just says, there is one life. And it's comforting. This past week, I spent the time going through all the photo albums that we have, quite a few of them. Married to a photographer. We had lots of pictures of Burke as a boy growing up, and I got them all arranged in chronological order and sent them off to my daughter-in-law, who is producing the video for his life celebration. And it was kind of a bittersweet type of process because I'm so blessed for having that fun-loving boy in my life who became a fantastic man. So I'm very grateful. And it does make me sad that he won't be able to experience his daughter's life like I was able to experience his. That he won't be able to experience being a grandfather like I am experiencing being a grandmother now. So this past week, as I was watching Adeline one day, she came up to me and she said, we need to listen to that song, Grandma, that you play on your, I play things on my phone all the time for her. If we don't understand something or if she wants to see what something looks like, well, I'll ask Siri or we'll, pull up a video about it. And so I guess earlier in the week, her grandma, Sunny, her other grandma, is in town. And Sunny had made the remark, she used the word frolic. And immediately Adeline said, oh, yes, that's in that dragon song. And so she wanted me to play Peter, Paul, and Mary's Puff the Magic Dragon, which I have done for her many times. And so I did. I pulled it up, and Adeline is sitting on my lap, and I've got the phone in front of her and me, and we're watching this video. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with that song, but about the third or fourth verse, it goes into, dragons live forever, but not so, little boys. Painted rings and giant rings make way for other toys. One gray night it happened, Jackie Paper came no more, and Puff the Magic Dragon, he ceased his fearless roar. And so as that was playing, I started to cry, quietly. And Adeline looked around back at me and she said, why are you crying? And I said, well, it's because I used to have a little boy, and he's not here with me anymore. And she looked at me and she said, but his spirit is with us. How amazing. And when she said that, I put my arms around her and I said to her, yes, and Daddy's arms are wrapped right around both of us right now. So there's so much more to this thing called life than what we experience on this physical, three-dimensional plane. I absolutely know that. And I also want to continue to be aware, to be on the alert as to all of the signals and signs that Burke will be continuing to give us. I mean, I know lots of people have had their loved ones pass on to another experience and yet have been able to talk with them, interact with them, have their responses. And I know that Burke Spirit will continue to do that. So I want to live my life as I wrote in the thought, that we go through life like a knife through a dung cake, picking up nothing, clinging to nothing, yet grounded in our very being. So we throw ourselves out, pour ourselves out, being able to give it all back, even giving back life itself. It is very, very simple. It only costs everything. This life is eternal. I want you to remember that today, this day, every day, that there is one life, and it is the life of God. And it is your life right now. It is my life right now. And the winds of change will blow. Allow them to. Know that beneath and within and around you is this substantial power and presence. I think about the song, we listened to one of Carol Logan's songs this morning, and another one of hers is, "The winds of God are blowing, unfurl your sails. The winds of God are blowing, unfurl your sails. The winds of God are blowing, unfurl your sails." Do you get that sense to just open up to life, to open up to accept what is, what has been, and let it flow easily, gracefully through you? To be open to knowing that life knows what it is doing, even though I can't accept it. I can't understand it. I don't understand why Burke had to leave right now. But evidently, it's not for me to know. I just have to accept it and experience his presence in a different way than I had before. So I want us to remain anchored in that knowing that this life is transitory on this earth plane. To remember that any day, at any hour, any one of us could go on to another experience. And you know what? It's okay. It's totally okay. But while we're here, how about if we think and consider about letting this love that we are out, be expressed in every way we possibly can, to be supportive as much as we can to all of those around us. I'd like to close by asking you to open up your program and let's read that ending of the affirmation at the bottom of the thought for the week. I live in the eternal now, letting and allowing the divine energy within me to bring and release all things. I am free. I am blessed. I am a blessing. And it is so. And that is the truth about all of us. Have a beautiful, beautiful day and coming week. Love you. Namaste.